Alright, so it's the next evening. Came down here and I opened this back up and I ran the wires for the light. So now my light's all wired in, ready to go. I took the grinding wheel off of this side and put it onto this side because this is the side that this wheel came off of originally. And the reason why I have to have that over on this side is, again, because the brake actuates on the side of this wheel. This style of wheel mount was completely missing on this side when I got this thing. What was on here was something completely different, and I actually had to go back and look at my earlier videos to figure out what the heck was over here, because I kind of forgot. Because all I've got is this short shaft coming out with threads on it. The originally, for those of you who haven't been following the series from the beginning, originally this would have been a mirror image on this grinder. We would have had over here should have been the same thing as over here, this casting. So what I've got is I've got the remnants of the casting like this, where it looked like it had maybe cracked off and they ground it. And so I've got that, and then what they did was they had a regular grinding wheel on here. They just used a couple of pieces of straps of metal that they turned into shims. So these were like that, okay, and then a couple of these large washers like you use on an angle grinder or a bench grinder, okay. But I remembered that I had tried fitting a more conventional type of diamond wheel on here and was able to do that. Couldn't figure out how I did it, and then I realized when I went back and looked at my videos in part 2, I think I actually can see that there's a part that screws onto here that I'm missing. So I've got to figure out where I put that. I thought I had all of these parts together, and I haven't been able to locate it not able to locate it at the moment, but I'm sure it's going to turn up. But anyway, so that's what's holding me up over here right now. So I'm going to go take a look and see if I can find that. But the interesting thing is, when I was looking at the videos, I realized that during part 2, I have this part of the grinder on the bench, and I'm messing around with the wiring and playing around with figuring out what the windings are and running it on the bench. And the whole time I'm doing that, it's got that part still on here. And then in part 3 opens with me getting parts out of the oven that I had painted. So clearly there's video. I think now I recall that I had a incident where some of my video was lost. Some of the video files were lost. So I didn't actually show the disassembly, the complete disassembly of this unit. When we pick it up in part 3, I've got everything all apart. I've actually already painted these pieces, and I'm putting the new bearings in. The first new bearings that I tried, which were a fail. But anyway, so let's see if we can't find this piece. It's been a few days since I was working on the grinder here, and the reason is that I had a heck of a time finding this piece right here that I've reinstalled. This casting right here, I also couldn't find that right off the bat, but turns out I had just left that where I was doing the painting on these pieces, so I was able to retrieve that. But this piece, I tore this place apart looking for this piece, and I left no stone unturned. I looked in boxes and drawers everywhere and containers, and the the funny part is I just stumbled upon it yesterday completely by accident. I happened to go over to the Vernon lathe, and I look over, and what's sitting on the tool tray but this piece. I took one look at it and knew what it was immediately. I was like, son of a gun, how did that happen? And then it hit me. I remembered that when I was taking this apart, part of the video that I was lost would have showed me taking this motor apart and taking the whole rotor assembly out and putting it in the chuck on the Vernon lathe to help hold it so that I could unscrew this, because this was on there really tight. So now I've threaded this back on. I've got the casting back on. I've got this is the guard, that homemade guard that was on here when I got the lathe, and then eventually this will go on here like that. Okay, so the question is now that I have this piece back on here, what are we going to put on here for a grinding wheel? What was on here was a more standard type of wheel, not unlike this right here, probably aluminum oxide type of wheel. And that was on here like this, but the wheel that was on here, I'm not sure what size the hole was. This is probably 1¼ inch standard, but whatever wheel they had on here was too large, so they had taken some flat metal strips and cut them into 2 bands to make up for the difference in size on this. So I don't even know where that wheel went. I have it around here somewhere probably. I actually went through and I pulled out like every wheel I have, because I'm now contemplating what I want to do next here for a wheel. So I could put something like this on, okay? I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. Of course, first thing I want to do is check what the maximum RPM is of the wheel that I put on there. I wouldn't want to put it, so this has a maximum RPM of 3600. I think we figured out that this thing was running just about at 3600 freewheeling, and of course as soon as you start grinding it's going to slow down. And so anyways, so I could just put something like that on, but I was thinking I might want to put another diamond wheel on this side. So what's on the other side is what came with the grinder on that side, which is a diamond wheel of this style here. Okay, so this is actually a solid metal wheel that has a diamond coating on it. Now this wheel, I picked this up for free for good reason. The reason why this was left behind at an estate was because you can see this is completely worn off here. So I don't even think you'd want to use something like that. I'm wondering why they might have not thrown this out. I don't know if these can actually be recoated. I don't know. This is probably aluminum. Yeah. So this is aluminum. I guess it's scrap now. But this would have gone on here just like this. At least it should. Oh, is there a bushing in that? Oh, you know what? It looks like that's got a sleeve in it of some type. This one doesn't. Yeah, see, that one fits on there. Oh, I like them apples. There's a very thin-walled sleeve in there, by the looks of it. I could probably bang that out if I wanted to, but there's not really any point because this wheel's in pretty sad shape. Here's another one. This one appears to still have some diamond coating on it here. So anyways, it's interesting to me the way this is set up on this side. I don't know whether or not this is original to this grinder or not, this adapter that's on here. Because on the other side what you've got is you've got an actual metal disc with holes in it, threaded holes in it, so that not only do you have a arbor that this can slide onto, but you have a place to put the 4 screws in, so that you don't have to rely on the clamping action of like a large washer on here. So maybe this side is made this way so that you can do either or. So you can either do a a diamond wheel like that, or a more conventional type of stone or something on here. I don't know. Not sure why they did that. I even have like some of these funky little wheels. Okay, that's a wheel that's got diamond on it. All right, so if I wanted to have something like this on this side, it would fit. Okay, but then I would have to make some sort of a collar or spacer to go on here, so that when I put the nut on and clamp down, it tightens down on it. So that's something I could do if I wanted to, I guess. Here's a wheel. This is an interesting wheel. This is a Norton wheel. Okay, and this is more like a conventional abrasive type wheel, but it's got a similar mount to the wheel we talked about on the other side there, where it's got, you know, the standard hole, but then it's got these holes here where it could screw onto that backing plate. So this wheel would be well suited to mount on the other side there if I wanted to. That one's a little bit looser. Here's a wheel. It almost doesn't even look like a wheel when you first look at it. It's so thin. And that's actually got a diamond coated edge there. So this must be for like maybe getting in between really fine teeth, to like maybe get the back rake on teeth on a cutter or a slitting saw or something like that, maybe. I don't know. Another one. Okay, that one's thicker. That might actually not even need a spacer. I want to put that on there. Bet you that would clamp on just fine. That would probably run kind of interesting, huh? What the hell happened there? You probably wonder, why the hell did I even bother picking this up? I think because when I originally took this grinder and didn't understand how the wheels were put together, I came across this either at that same estate or somewhere. I grabbed it thinking that maybe this was almost like some sort of a plate that came off, not realizing that this is all one assembly basically. This is how it's sold. This is a Cincinnati. That's interesting. This is max RPM 4138. So that would be well within the safe operating range of this grinder. But again, that's going to be scrap. That doesn't look. That doesn't look like the same metal. I wonder if that's aluminum or if that's an alloy. I don't really care because it's ruined anyways. Yeah, I think that's it's aluminum. The other thing I wondered about was whether or not this adapter wasn't designed in a way so that if you wanted to use a more conventional wheel with just a hole like that, could you do that? Obviously too large, but I mean, if I had a smaller one that wasn't quite as thick, could probably still put the pressure washer on there and a nut. I also have stones like this and have the right sized arbor. Again, these are thin enough though that I need to put some sort of a plate on there. These probably are for a surface grinder. Again, maximum RPM 3600. The other reason I wouldn't want to put one of these on there, even if I could, is got to deal with the table. So here's one of the tables. The two tables are identical. And you can see that there's actually a limitation of space between these two, almost like guards right here. And the fact that this is called the Hammond 6 grinder, I have every reason to believe that they're basically saying it's a 6-inch grinder that's supposed to take 6-inch wheels. So here's a 1 1/4 inch by a 6-inch by 3/4 by 1 1/4 inch. So it's 6-inch outside diameter. That will fit down inside there. Another option I thought I might have would be a cup-shaped wheel. This has got oxidation on it. This is sitting out in a barn. I bought this at a farm auction. I bought a box of junk just because this wheel was in the bottom of it. It looked like it was new old stock. So anyways, That might be nice. The only problem I'm seeing with that is that cup wheel, the cutting edge sticks way out here. So it's way out here, so the edge of the table should be out here to do that. And I honestly don't think I can even get the table to go onto the post far enough to lock properly before it runs into a problem. That's like as far, that's, yeah, I don't think that's right. So I think if I want to use a cup wheel like this on this grinder, I would have to put this wheel on that side and yeah, could I do that? Well, that would mean having to be able to get, that would mean being able to get that wheel off of its base on that other side, which I don't know if you recall, but it was held on with some screws, and I wasn't able to get the screws out, so I ended up just taking the wheel off with the whole thing as an assembly. And then a second ago when I tried putting this on here with the other wheel on, there was too large of a gap between the edge here, but I could tell because the post wasn't even sticking out yet that it definitely should go on further. But what's happening is, you see this ear, the one that's on this side is hitting the inside of this makeshift homemade shield. So it almost appears like I would have to cut a notch in this to accommodate this ear. Of course, when they had this guard on here, when I bought the thing, this table wasn't even on here at all. In fact, I have no idea how they were using this. They just had the wheel sitting out here and basically maybe freehand grinding things. I don't know. There's a reason why this device isn't bolted down. It's because it's a temporary installation. I don't like all of us here on this planet. We're all just temporary installations. That'll do. That'll do, Piggly. That'll do. So that's going to let that little ear on that table clear and get behind here. So it'll allow me to slide the table on further onto the post here. Now, I haven't done anything to this table yet. This is the table that I think I found laying around somewhere that wasn't on the machine, I'm pretty sure. Well, maybe it was, I don't know. But anyways, I should completely remove all of this rust and then strip off this old paint, prime it and paint where it's supposed to be painted. But I'm not going to do that. I'm kind of getting to the point where I want to just get this thing running and usable. I want to get the other Hammond grinder that I have down here before we get heavy snow on the ground and evaluate that, and then make a decision on which one of the two I'm going to keep for myself and which one I'm going to either end up having to scrap. If that other one is complete junk, I'll end up scrapping it, or you know, maybe I'll keep that one and sell this one. I don't know. We'll see. But I do want to clean out. This is all full of grinding dust. And I also want to, I haven't done anything to clean up this hole. So I'm probably going to see if we can't get a flap wheel in there. Clean that out a little bit. But the other thing I noticed about this table is that there is, it's kind of rustificated, but there is actually, believe it or not, a graduated scale mounted right here. There's probably, somewhere on here, there's probably remnants of a line that's covered with rust. And this would, or actually it's probably the top edge of the table here is supposed to line up with one of the numbers. And that would tell you how many degrees you've tilted this table. Well, if I mount this table on this side the way that I just had it, this is actually at the rear of the machine. So I think this is the table for the right side. So I'm going to actually go grab the other table. Alright, so here's the other table. It's actually in much better shape. A lot less grinding dust down in this well. And the scale is actually legible on this one, and it's on this side, so that when I put the table on, the scale will be facing the front of the machine where I want it. So let's I'm going to clean up this bore. Let's mount that puppy. Alright, that's already a lot smoother than the other one. The bore on this one was in much better shape. I am going to put just I'm going to wipe this with oil. Now you can see where I cut out this area. It's for this ear that's on this side to be able to pass through, so that now I can slide this on much further. So I'll just back it off, put my wheel back on. I believe this is the wheel I decided to go with on this side. And now I can bring this up close to the wheel like it should be. Alright, now I gotta go in search of this retaining washer that was on here. Somehow managed to misplace that. But in the meantime, let me show you this little slice of heaven I found. Cheapo Depot, Home Depot that is, went down the bulb section there, was looking at the LED lights, and came across these EcoSmart bulbs. These were, I think, like $5 for two. And the reason why I decided on these, they're 50-watt equivalent, so they only use 6.5 watts of energy. So they're not going to put any strain on this switch. This switch should last 100 years with these bulbs in there. Anyways, grab these because look at the shape and size of them suckers. I could have got any number of bulbs that would fit in there, but a lot of the light from that bulb would be wasted because it would just be, well, theoretically it's supposed to reflect off of this and come down, but this isn't exactly a mirrored surface inside there. I think this is going to be better, and as I suspected, it will fit. I knew this was kind of small. I looked at one a little bit bigger, and I was worried that it wasn't going to fit inside here. So I think this is going to be the ticket. And the other decision I had to make was there were two styles of these. There was Daylight, which is what I ended up getting, and then there was Bright White, I think it was called. And I looked at one of the charts they have there, the handy dandy charts, because I can never remember what's better for what. And I think they said that this light is good for reading. And I said, well, reading is small work, right? Looking at something small, kind of up close, kind of close. So I thought maybe that was more, like what I would expect to be doing here. So, I don't know why that was on. I probably just pulled it with the cord. Alright, let's check this out. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's going to be a good light for this. And the nice thing is I can leave this on for quite a long time. The bulb housing itself gets just a little warm to the touch. That's it. And since it's not even close to touching the outer housing here, you can see there's quite a bit of space in here between the housing. So I'm not going to ever have to worry about burning my hands touching this light. Cool beans. Well, I found the washer that was on here when I got the machine. Pretty sure this is the one that was on here when I got the machine. And it's not going to work. Now the reason why it worked before was because the standard grinding wheel that I had on here was thicker than this diamond wheel. So I could make a washer. If I made a washer that had a hole in it the size of an 1.25 inch hole, I could stick that washer on there. The problem is it's so close. I don't like that washer would have to be almost like a shim. It would have to be really thin. And I don't think I would have much luck successfully Uh, Making a washer that thin material is a pain in the butt to deal with. So I think what I'd rather do is make an improved version of this just for the purpose of driving this wheel. So one of the things I can do, I could actually modify this even. You'll notice there's a recessed area here. Okay, so if I actually recess this even further, that would let this stick out even prouder. And I could probably get it to work, but then that would make this middle part thinner. I think I'd rather keep it kind of thick. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a larger version of this washer. That's deep, got a deeper recess here. I could start out with a little bit thicker material. And I think by making it larger, I could have this contact area here that's actually in contact with the wheel. I could have that wider so it would grip the wheel even better. That doesn't sound like a horrible idea. Well, changed my mind again. I decided rather than delay this project from getting finished any further by having to wait to getting around to making a new special washer, I decided I'm just going to put a regular grinding wheel on this side. So I've got a few of these. I've got this one here, and if I put this on, it's actually thick enough that I can use this washer that I had on here before, and it'll work perfectly fine. But it occurs to me that with this table on here, I'm probably going to be side loading the wheel more. I'm not going to be grinding on this surface. I'm going to be trying to grind on this surface. So I'm going to use this thicker one that I have. Now, used grinding wheels are always kind of iffy. This one actually, max RPM is 4140, so that's quite a bit above the max of this grinder. So I think RPM wise it should be fine. But you know, as used wheels or wheels that have been hanging around for a while, there's always a risk that there's a crack in them somewhere that you don't see, and you won't realize it until it grenades at you know, close to max RPM, and that could be dangerous. So I think I read somewhere that one of the things you can do is you can ring the wheel. So what I'm doing is just supporting this, and I'm going to just give it a light tap. And you can hear there's a ring, almost like a bell. And the idea behind that is that if there was a crack, a radial crack in this, that ring would be very dampened. It would be more of a thud. I don't know how true that is. I know that that does work in the pottery world. You know, if you have a piece of pottery or a bowl or something, you know, and if it's if you're trying to determine if there's a hairline crack in it that you can't see with your eye, you can do the same thing. You hold the bowl up and you just ting it with your fingertip, and it will have that bit of a ring to it, whereas if there's a crack in it, it'll be more of a thud. It'll be dampened. So, I don't know. Okay, so this wheel, interestingly enough, is just a tiny bit out of round. Either that or, I'm not sure. But just barely clearing this this bracket here, but all I have to do is swivel this back a little bit. There we go. So since that nut tightens on there clockwise, that nut's going to just get tighter as I spin it backwards. So I think what I'm going to do for this first test run with this wheel on there is I'm going to run it backwards. And I'll put on some eye protection just in case things get pear-shaped. Nope, I don't want to go that way. Oh, look at that. Huh. How do you like them apples? Oh, it's rubbing. My washer's rubbing the table there. It almost looks like it's running out of, like it's not running true. Huh. This seems okay. Well, that's taking a while to run down. So get a load of this. I hold the chisel point really close, it's not touching at all, and then it starts to touch a little bit, and then right there it touches a lot. See, it's not touching there, not touching, not touching. There's one spot on the wheel here that's high. I think I should take this back off and make sure there isn't something on that surface of that wheel that's causing it to not mount correctly. Well, I don't see any issues here. I don't know, is it the wheel? Well, here's the one I was originally going to use. I think maybe I'm just gonna keep this wheel for use on a bench grinder application where I'm only using this surface. Let's give this one a shot. Well guys, there it is. Pretty much the finished product. I've just got to put it on the stand, find a spot for it. But the only thing I did was I did decide to clean off the rust on the table that was more rusty. I wanted to take this scale off and try and carefully clean it, but the screws are really stuck in there. I'm just going to leave it for now. And I think that's gonna conclude this little project. All right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and take care.